July 11th, 2014. These are Earth-facing SDO images. I went back until the 9th, and I'm going to show you up until the current images by the end of the video. I want to point out a couple things. To the right, you see the magnetic lines pull out and form that prominence, then a coronal mass ejection. Now, we've seen that before, but what would be pulling those over there? We have two objects there, and I'll show you those also, that's causing this. And this one's exploded, and you'll see that in the last frames of the newest images today, another one's forming on the same area because of what's occurring there. Now notice the camera wiggle there from the SDO. They do that periodically. Sometimes they're trying to readjust it, I guess. But anyway, what's happened during all of that movement is there's a filament that's released from the surface of the sun that's Earth-facing. It's almost impossible to detect through that motion, but we're going to break it down on this camera. Notice right there, the filament is starting to leave. It's the dark blue, guys. Just kind of step it through. It's lifting, twisting, and it's going to release. Again, I'm following that camera movement. There, it's very far off the surface of the sun. Here in the box, you see that S curve? That's what's headed towards Earth. It partially collapsed on the back side and began forming this wide angle Hyder flare. Check it out. It's beautiful to see it on these cameras like that. But that creates what's called a Hyder flare, H-Y-D-E-R, and that's a secondary burst that's following that blue filament. Let's take a look at the Enlil solar wind prediction chart, guys. There's the sun in the center. Notice your timestamp. This is the new events. Now we're into the 10th, 1300 hours. There's a double blast to the left side of the sun. I'm going to show you these on the satellite. The one to the right is the one that they're tracking that went out toward Mars and Venus and Mercury. Now here you can see that 6 a.m. Sunday morning, estimated arrival time to Earth. You see that sudden increase in plasma density. Earth is the green dot. Again, the sun's the yellow dot in the center. That's the Earth right there. Notice that red line crossing it. Now, these are plus or minus 7 hours, and I've seen them off. But at least it gives us an idea of what we're looking at. Now, this one didn't pick up the one on the left, but check out the one that it did. Venus is that green dot right there. Mercury's the orange dot that's also coming around on that side of the sun. Earth is the yellow dot to the right. Now, notice how Venus is in the dead zero of that curve of the coronal mass ejection. Again, we'll take another look at that. Let's look at stereo behind. This is the opposite side of the sun, so you're getting images to the left that you would see to the right if you were looking at from SDO or the LASCO. Notice your timestamp. That's the one you see emerging. Very powerful. Then the one to the top. Let's look at them. Let's go back to Earth facing. This is LASCO C2. Notice your timestamp. We're going to start back on the 7th. That's the 8th. Now starting on the 9th would be impacts we would be starting to feel now. Now this one on the right, that was very powerful. Let's check this out. Now I recorded these last night, but I'm going to go and show you the current SDO images. I wanted to show you what they were modeling on that Enlil solar wind prediction chart. And quite a bit of energy in these releases. Check that out. But notice they're going to the right. It's been 2 in a row. Very large CMEs. And they're being pulled out magnetically. Very sharp blast. You see that? Now, let's take a look at a couple other satellites. The magnetic lines here to the right. Now, let's go to current SDO images. This is a new prominence forming to the right. Same place. See how it's being pulled out? At any moment, maybe by the time I've done the video, this thing may have released another coronal mass ejection. Sometimes I've seen them linger there. But again, you've got Mercury and Venus pulling around to that side. Mercury, again, was right in the crosshairs of the large one. Let's look at it here. Again, you can see the magnetic lines of force being pulled out to the right. Check that out. This is why. What's there? Comet Jacques. That's Mercury. That's what we're seeing on the models. These comets are electric. It's the opposite polarity of the sun. We saw that do the same thing as our sun approached the sun, how it would send out the flares and tear those tails off. You see the waves in the tail. But this thing, again, these images are a couple days old for the SETI. It takes them 2 days to process this, and then put it on their website where we can see it. Again, you're looking here from stereo A, which is also on the backside of the sun, to the left of stereo B. So if you were looking at this from the Earth, everything would be to the right. You'd see Mercury and you would see Comet Jacques pulling that way. But that's what's causing those large magnetic lines. We're going to have to watch the sun. There's a lot of activity going on. It's a heads up. Be safe.